Hey guys, my name is Alisha Pate from Pate Ranch, and I've got a great opportunity to review two machines together. We've got the OmTech 2440 100 watt, and we have the Thunder Nova 35 that's also a 100 watt tube. Anyway, I get a lot of calls and questions on, hey, is a Thunder really worth buying and spending that extra money over an OmTech? The size is about the same, the wattage of the tube is about the same. So I thought, I need to know myself if I'm going to give people advice. So I ended up getting a machine, and I want to take a look at it today. Is the OmTech worth the budget value of saving the money, or should I spend a little extra money and go ahead and get the Thunder? What features are added to each machine that make a big difference? So we're going to walk around the machine today in part one and look at some of the features, the cabinet, how things are built. And then part two of our video, we're going to do some testing. We're going to test wood, leather, and acrylic. We're going to do some performance metrics and see which one performs better, so that you have enough information to decide on what laser is best for you. And with everything, it's different per each user, each use case, but the more information you have that you're equipped with, the better you can make informed decisions. So sit back and watch our video in two parts. The walk around, looking at features, and the second half is more of the performance. Look forward to visiting with y'all. Welcome to Pate Ranch, where today we're going to take a look at two different CO2 gantry lasers that are kind of in the same category as far as function and size wise. So today we're going to take a look at more in depth of the Thunder Nova 35. This is the 100 watt tube. And we're also going to take a look at the OmTech AF 2440 100 watt machine. These two are often somewhat compared when somebody's looking for a new laser, just because they have similar size, capacity, and wattage on the tube. But you'll notice some big differences when it comes to price and also form, fit, and finish. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. We're going to walk around both of these lasers inside and out and talk about some of the features that are similar and some of them that are different. The first thing I'd like to do is walk around both of these machines, just with the camera, kind of showing you what these machines look like in open space. We'll take a look at the Thunder Nova 35 first. So you note that this machine has a white and light blue color. This is what all the Thunder machines, they kind of have this same color scale. We have side entry panels that we're going to open up here in a second and take a look at. But each side has a keyed mechanism to get into the panels. You'll also see that there's a chiller that comes with the Thunder Nova 35. So that setting, I have mine on the side there. You can also put it in the back. So we come around to the front. Again, we have keyed entry into each of the panels. The lid will open. We'll show that in a minute. The front comes off for cleaning, and so does the bottom. And I'll show you everything we need to do when we get inside. We come around to the other side, and we also see that the same kind of mirrored look from the other side with the panels that open. You've got some vents, and then you've got your controls here for your power. You've got a main switch, a laser switch, Ethernet, and USB and PC. So I like having the laser switch if I'm running my machine all day long and I need to go over to the house to eat or do whatever. I can turn off the laser and limit its usage of on power, but still keep the main one on. If I'm doing some design work, I can turn it off if I know I'm going to not run the laser for a while. Anyway, we also see what is the extension for the 100 watt tube. If you bought this machine with just the 80 watt or a lower wattage, it wouldn't have this extension. This accommodates the 100 watt tube. So we'll go ahead and come to the back. I'm going to walk around the other way to look at the back of the Nova. Sometimes the back of machines aren't real pretty, but this is just the way it is. So this is the back of the machine. We have access to the tube, and we also have our power source back here, and then you have the connection for you would do your exhaust out of the machine. And then you've got some wheels that this thing rolls on, and you also have your water lines that come in here. Some of these videos are up on YouTube of what exactly each port is. We won't go into detail on that video, but I just wanted to show you the back of that one. So we're going to pan around and start looking at the OmTech. So again, this is the OmTech 100 watt AF 2440 machine, and we look at the footprint of it, it's a tad smaller in length than the Thunder. We're going to get a measurement on that in a second. You have a different type of mechanisms for opening these doors. You have a keyed, but you also have kind of a handle here for each of these. So to access the mirrors, you have a different type of connection here. This looks like plastic screws to get into. So the front, both of them have a little bit of clearance in the front where you could put things under there. They have wheels, and then they have feet. So you can lower the feet if you wanted these in a stationary position somewhere. As we come around to the other side, same look and feel. You have some connections here to plug it into the PC or Mac. You have your flash drive, USB, and then Ethernet port there. More panels that you can get into and open. I have that one locked. And then we have on the top of the machine the RUI to control some LED lights, the on-off button, the e-stop, and then we also have the current output of the laser itself. If we go look on the top of the controls of the Thunder, we have two things. This is our air assist control. This allows us to control our high and our low air. This is a feature the Thunder has we'll go over later. And then on the right side, just like on the other machine, you have your RUI controller, your e-stop, and then this one has a power on, a different kind of LED, not LED, but a kind of indicator light for when the machine is on or it's setting idle. So let's look at the back of the OmTech, come around. The OmTech does not come standard with a chiller. I have an additional chiller in my shop, so I've loaded it up on this one to make it easier. You typically would come with a bucket and it's like a fish tank pump to circulate your water through here. On the back of the OmTech, we have our power source over here. There's two connections. Let me get down there. Two connections there. Then you have your exhaust here in the center, just as with the other. And then you have, if you have a water pump, either the fish tank one or a real one that's a big water source here, then that's where you would plug it in. So that's kind of the quick summary of the outside of the machines. What I want to do is get a tape measure and get some length measurements on this. So let me do that real quick. All right, so let's take a look at the Thunder Nova 35. The main front of the machine is going to about 59 inches, but we got to accommodate for that tube extension. So that tube extension is going to take this machine out to about 75 inches. So let's look at what the coming forward would be. You're looking at about 45 inches coming forward. So you're looking about 75 by 45. Let's take a look to see what this machine's footprint is. You don't have that tube extension, so you're coming out to about 63 inches. And on the width, you're about 49. So the footprint is a tad smaller on the OmTech. So if size and location in a room is a consideration, that's something to think about. You would either need to get the 80-watt tube or make sure that you had a big enough room to accommodate that. All right, guys, one thing I want to cover today is the different heights of these machines, and then we're also going to talk about the doors and the handles. If you take notice, you know, the Thunder machine is quite a bit taller as far as where the handle placement is. You're looking at about 37 inches. And on the OmTech, the handle placement is about 26 inches. So about 10-inch difference. Not a big deal, but if you're a super tall person, you're gonna have to probably lean over on the OmTech. The other thing about the handles I want you to notice is how big in size the difference is on the Thunder. You have more area to stick your hand in, and when you're lifting up this machine or this door, you know, 40, 50 times a day, it's nice to have a bigger handle. That's one of the complaints I had about the Mira 9 too, is that the Mira line has a really small scale, so you end up replacing the handle. The handle here on the OmTech is pretty small profile. One, it doesn't stick out, but it's also fairly small. So, I mean, I can get my hand through, but it stops at my knuckles. So if you're a guy, you're probably not gonna get your knuckles through there. So that's the handle. The other thing I wanna do is I wanna show you what the doors are like when you open the doors. The Thunder has a kind of a soft opening mechanism designed into their hinges so that whenever you lift the door at about 45-degree angle, it's going to catch and go up on its own. And I want you to see how it stops at the end. See how it's kind of a soft close, which is nice because if you're doing a lot of work, you can lift it and then it'll actually go up on its own and you're already down in here working. Well, how does this one work? So we'll lift it up and it should catch at about 45 degrees and take it up. That's what not a soft open looks like. So just something to, it's not really a big deal breaker. It's just, you know, you're gonna start seeing differences in designs and how mechanisms are designed and put on certain machinery. I happen to like this soft open, just by the way that I operate and I'm in the machine a lot. And you also don't have it to where that'll fall on your head. The Mirror 9, I had it fall on my head a couple times. This one's pretty stable. I don't ever see it having any issues of coming down. It goes up pretty far. So anyway, I just wanted to point that one out. Now what I want to do is get the camera and I want to look at the top of these machines in more detail. I want to look at more of the controller here. If we take a look at this Rui, the controller, there's a few things that I want to identify that are different on these machines. One is an opportunity for them to have labeled what these lights are. Obviously this one must be for the main system power. This red is for the laser power. Not sure what that amber one is. I'm sure when we run we'll find out. But if we look at this Rui controller, it's a gray colored background and our start button is this blue one here, if you can see it. You really can't read the words very well, and same for the stop. It's an opportunity for them to change those colors going forward. But the main difference is with the two controllers, and I'll show you the one over on the Thunder, is that the Thunder has an up-down on its own switch so that you can lower it and raise the bed. Whereas with this one, you need to go into the main menu, you need to go into the Z, which is the move, and then you have to use the up and down arrow, which is the right and the left. And that's how you move the Z bed. Let's go look at over here on the Thunder machine. Okay, here is their readout. The colors are nice. You have the contrast of the blue and the white. Now you can see the difference between the two, right? This is what I was talking about. The Thunder has this nice feature of the up-down button in addition to the left and right. So I can do the left and right and move. And then I can also do the bed down. I don't have to go into another menu. So this is a very convenient feature. I use that a lot. The Mirror 9 was also designed the same way, controller-wise, that the OmTech is. You'd have to go in to the Z move and do the left and right buttons to move it up and down. Just wanted to point that out, make sure you saw that. Just a little bit differences on the controller, and I think it's an important feature. Okay, I want to talk about one of the nice features that the Thunder Nova line has on it, and that's this dual assist control that is on the left side of the machine. And essentially what this is, it allows you to define a parameter in Lightburn or the software, and you can tell it if you want to use high or low air. And then once the instruction for that job that you're running comes to the controller, it'll read that instruction and say, if they have toggled low air, then I'm going to go through this control, and if they're going to do high air, then I'll go through this left side control. And the nice thing about this is I can tell my jobs, if I'm doing an engrave, I want low air, and so I can control it with this valve right here. And if I'm doing high air, which is usually used on cuts, then it'll come through this side and I can regulate that. So this is a dual air control system that a lot of lasers do not have. And it's very a benefit add feature that I use a lot, and I'm going to test that. I'm going to hit the test for the low, and you'll see that the air is lower than with the higher. You can hear it coming out and see it. And I can turn this while my job is running. So a lot of machines don't have this. This is a nice feature. If you don't have enough air going to your job, you can easily control it from the front of the laser. Now we'll test the high, and we'll do the same type of deal with raising and lowering the PSI. See, I can control and raise or lower how much air is coming through off of my air compressor. So it's an additional control mechanism that can be controlled via the software with a toggle, but also right here on the control panel. So that's a very nice feature that the OmTech doesn't have, and I want to make sure to call that out as an additional add. Okay, the next thing I want to take a look at is really looking in depth at the inside of these two machines. Specifically the size of the bed, how the honeycomb is either stationary or not in the machine, what our Z depths and our XY depths are, and just take a general look and feel of the inside like we did the outside of the two machines. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Thunder first. So I'm going to put the tripod down here, try to get a good angle. Excuse the adjustment. All right. So this bed is, let's take a measurement, but it advertises this is the Nova Thunder 35. And if we go complete one side to the other, where the bottom starts dropping out, you're looking at about 39.5. As far as much that you can realistically engrave, I'll get the actual specs from their website. But you're probably looking at about 36 inches by about 23 to 24. So 36 by 24, they advertise it as, again, as a 35, just so that you don't get all crazy if you get one and then it's like, oh, I couldn't get, 36 inches. You do have a pass-through, and what that means is there's a piece of metal in the back that opens and you can slide your material through, so you could slide an infinite length of material. The front also comes off. Let me get the keys and I'll show you that. We can take this front panel off. It's easy like that, and put material sticking out the front. And if it's a long piece of wood, we can slide it through the back. I think that pass-through is like 1.5 inch or 2 inch clearance. Let's take our Z depth. Let's go down as far as we can go, and then we'll take a measurement with the honeycomb in. One thing that I will say about the Thunder that I like about this machine is that the honeycomb doesn't move around. You see that? It doesn't slide around on the rails or the blades. When I had my Mira 9, that was one of the things I didn't like about that machine, because the honeycomb, just like over on the OmTech, and I'm going to show you, it moves around. This one, it doesn't. This has 2 pins. I'm going to lift it up. Oops. This has 2 pins right here. There's one here and here. And they actually have guide rails down there so that when you set the honeycomb down, it stays in place. You can see me set it real quick. Okay, you heard it go in. So there we go, it's stiff, it's not moving. That's nice because when you are engraving something, you can set a jig down in this bed and do multiple pieces, and then it won't move around. Let me show you that. This is really a silly example, but I want you to see what I'm talking about. Let's say that I'm gonna engrave a whole bunch of things. And I want this to be exactly here every time. Okay, I'm gonna put another one in. So I'm gonna do 100 of these coasters, and this is the application I had to do. And I want this to be in the same place every time. Well, I can push up against this, and it's not gonna move because this bed isn't moving. So if I square up anywhere on this piece of wood, I can just keep putting some new ones in and engrave, and it's gonna be in the same spot every time. If this honeycomb was moving around, then I have to be very careful of the bed moving, because now it's out of square or not in the same spot. So that's what I mean by the honeycomb not moving on these blades is a big plus. So now what I want to do is get a depth reading of the Z depth on this machine, and the Z depth is how much room do I have from my honeycomb, the top of my honeycomb, to the nose of this cone. We are about 9.25 inches from the top of the honeycomb to the bottom of the cone on the focal. All right, so that we'll mark those measurements down and put some detail in the video on what that is. So let's now go ahead and come over here and look at this machine on the inside. Okay, so this machine, let's get our measuring device here. But I also want to point out what I was talking to you about the bed moving around. Let's take a look at that. This honeycomb slides around. See that? And you may think, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Well, when you're putting material down in pins, you don't want this to happen because of that same example I was telling you about a while ago. So that's an opportunity. What they could do is to make this have a grid system to where it doesn't slide around like that. That's kind of a gap in my opinion. So let me put this down. See what our measurement is. Looks like the max opening is a little larger here. We got 43 that we could drop this bed here. And 27 on the max honeycomb, but probably you're looking at engraved space about 24. And I'll have to check the specs and see what the max width is. I bet this one's rated for 39 or 40 by 24. So a tad bit bigger on the bed there. Let's see what our Z depth is. Lowering of the bed is a little noisier. We're going to look at that in more detail. This is a brand new machine too. It kind of sounds like it's, well, I know why it does. They use a chain mechanism underneath as opposed to a belt driven. Okay, we hit our hard limit. So let's see what our distance is here. Looks like our Z depth to the bottom of our cone is about 5.25. So we were 9.25 over there, we're 5.25 over here. So a lot more Z depth on the Thunder. So that's interesting. Okay, well, that's our X and Y and Z. So we'll look at some more features of these two machines. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is I'm going to open up the front of these machines, and I want to look at how do you remove some of the crumbs that fall to the bottom, how do you clean it, how do you get down into the bottom half of the machine, because there will be times when you're going to need to do that. And I think that's important to show the ease of getting into the machine and some of the mechanisms that are used to drive these machines, like the belts, or are they using chains, etc. So let's take a look at the Thunder machine first. I'm going to adjust the camera here. Okay. You have keys that come with this machine, and I'm actually going to take everything off here. All right, this machine, we have this front panel that lowers down. You can actually remove this door. There is a little pin right here that you pull, and this whole thing can come off. And so how this is set up down here is whenever you are lasering wood, it'll fall through this crumb tray here, the honeycomb, and then the wood pieces will fall down here and you can catch it. So you'll want to clean this out every once in a while. This tray right here is very nice to have because you can get 2 people or 1, take it outside and clean it, and so it easily comes out of the machine. And I'm going to show you how I take it out. So very easy, I can take that out. I want to show you what it looks like inside here to see some of the differences. I'm going to raise this bed. Hopefully you can see this is like a rubberized track system that is rotating around, and then there's 4 spindles that are moving this bed up. It'll hit a hard limit and it'll beep. Okay, it hit the hard limit. So that's as high as I can go with this. Let's take a look in here in a little bit more detail. I'm gonna get the camera. All right. We can look in here, it's a little dirty. I've cleaned the rest of it, but I need to clean more. But I just want you to see how it's designed and engineered. So you have these 2, there's 4, actually 3 systems that are pulling this chain. It's not a chain, it's more of a rubberized rope that's got a grid system in it. And that's what pulls it around and then raises or lowers the bed. So I just kind of wanted to show you that, but I want you to listen to it because there's a difference in the 2. Okay, we'll put the honeycomb tray back in a minute. Now let's go over here and look at this one. All right. Okay, good. All right, looks like we have a chain-based system here. I'm going to get the control. All right, so let's see how its mechanism moves. Okay, looks like we have this is how you empty the crumbs that come down here. So it looks like it's got like a filtered system where, and when I say filter, it's a conical design to where the chunks fall down into a smaller area. There's kind of some opportunity. The fit and finishes could be a little nicer. It's not really squared up, but that's whatever. So anyway, that's how that one works. Okay, the next topic that I'd like to talk about is on the head design. Let's take a look at what both of these manufacturers have with regards to components that are here in the head. So in general, both of these machines are gantry machines with a glass tube. So most of you know this, but if not, you have a glass tube in the back and it fires and it hits a mirror in the back, mirror number 1. Then the laser beam will hit a second mirror here, and then the laser beam will hit a third mirror here, and then the laser will go down through this cone where there is a lens, and then the material will either be cut or engraved here. Same concept over here on this machine. Tube in the back, mirror 1 over there, mirror 2 here, mirror 3 in this location. You have a lens, it's probably about, I think it's about right here. And then the laser beam comes down and hits a material and either cuts it or engraves it. So let's talk about a couple of features here. There is a red dot on both of these machines that helps you kind of closely identify on where the laser beam is going to go. The way it's designed with the Fender machine is it it kind of mimics the actual laser beam. So the red dot starts in the back of the machine, it comes around, it follows, and you can actually align it when you have the machine as new or later. You align it to be in the same location that your laser beam does. So when you're aligning your mirrors, you can align the red dot there as well. So mine is pretty closely aligned with where the laser is going to go. I don't rely on it as an absolute, this is the exact spot. It's probably within a couple of millimeters, maybe 1 or 2. But the way this is set up, I know this is probably where, if like this scratch on this piece of Texas, if I put my laser here, that's pretty much where it's going to be. And it is going down through the cone to right there. So that's one difference. On this machine, your red dot does not funnel through the back of the machine. It's a light source on this little wand here, making sure you can see it. So I can adjust it, and this is kind of a gap in that I've already, when I started this machine the last time and I used it and came back, the red dot is way off. So I'm not sure if I hit this little handle, I'm sure you can tighten it super tight. But anyway, it's just a difference. To me, it's a little different. Let's look at the autofocus. This is the autofocus arm. And so this works where you would raise the bed. I don't have it in the right position, but you could lower the autofocus to a certain depth. You would lower it with this nozzle here, or that knob there. And when the material came up and hit that, then it would say, don't go up anymore. So that's the autofocus design on this machine. I never use autofocus. I would not encourage you to do that, but I'm showing you the different systems. The autofocus on this machine is set up like your garage doors are at home. When you have a piece of material that comes and breaks the line of the garage door, you know how you have your garage door and if a cat runs across it, it stops. It's a safety feature so that your kid doesn't get squished in it or a cat killed. Same thing is here. If I have a piece of material and it comes up to a certain height, then it's not going to allow me to raise that bed anymore. So that's kind of how the designs are set up, and just wanted to show you that they're just different. This is just a nice call out, that way you know. Okay, the next functional area that I would like to talk about is our airline system. So with gantry machines, we need compressed air to come in and get sprayed through on our jobs. If we're doing an engrave, it's a light or a low air. If we're doing a cut, we like high air. This is our airline that comes in for the Thunder Novas. And then we also have an airline that comes in to our OmTech machines. Both of them enter at the bottom of the nozzle cone. And design's pretty similar as far as how it enters into the laser head. I don't see a lot of difference there. But what I do see a difference in is some of the controls and how it comes into the stock machines. Again, I think I've gone over it before as a feature and I'll hit it later, but the Thunder Nova has a dual air assist control system set up so that you can regulate the amount of PSI that you want for your jobs. We don't have that on the OmTech. The airline comes through the back and then it comes off a pump, and we'll go let's see what that looks like. So this is the back of the OmTech. I'm going to open up this back panel. This is our exhaust system as well. So as we're looking here, we can see that this is the controls here for our blower or our exhaust system, and this is our fan. So this is our air that comes in. This is a small compressor, and a lot of people will get the stock one as we see here, and they undo it and they add on an additional compressor, like a high compressor in their garage or on the side of their machine. So the Thunder comes with the same concept, a small air compressor, and most people will upgrade those. So just wanted to show that and point that out. But I want to show you where the connection is on the Thunder. The Thunder, for me, I have it wired to a compressor that's on the other side of the room. You have a port on the back of your machine. It tells you 55 psi is your max, and it's just a simple press button to add the line. So when you get a stock Thunder machine, you'll have an air compressor that comes with it. So you can either use that just like you have on the OmTech, or you can swap that out for an upgraded compressor that you may already have in your garage. So I wanted to show you that. Let's go over to the water chiller since we're talking about that in the back here. Thunder has ports for your water chillers. There's one feature that's nice that I don't see on the OmTech, which is an alarm. So this cable here is for that, and then you have it plugged into the machine itself so that whenever you turn your machine on, if the power cord button is on for your chiller, it'll turn on automatically. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. So you have your in and your out ports, you have your safety alarm, and then you have your plug that actually goes into the chiller. So you don't have to use as many ports on the wall. On this machine, it looks like I have two plugs that go into the wall to service the actual machine itself. And then I have had to add an additional wall plug for the chiller. This chiller, you can either use this in addition to when you buy the machine, you can upgrade and get one of these, or you can use the fish tank pump, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we do have our water in and out. We do not have an alarm safety feature on here, and I'm going to tell you why that is an opportunity or a gap in my opinion. When you do not have your water chiller on and you run your laser without water going through here, it will ruin or break your tube if you don't have a solution running through here. And there's been a couple of cases recently where some makers have forgotten to turn on their chiller and they have blown their tube. So having that nice safety feature is beneficial. This is the alternative to what comes stock with the OmTech. You get a bucket that you would fill with water, and then you would fill this with water, and then you would get a line, and then you would run it into the in and out, so it would cycle through this open cavity of water, and that's what you would use. It's basically an aquarium liquid filter pump. So if you do get an OmTech, I would recommend that you upgrade your water system to some type of industrial chiller. This is a 5200. There's a 5000 series, there's a 5200, different ones out there, but I would recommend highly doing this. This machine, if I turn this off and I go run this laser over here, it's going to allow me to run it without telling me that this is off. The Thunder has a mechanism in place where it will not allow the tube to fire, and it'll give you an alarm. Let's go look at that. So this is the Thunder. On this side we have two controls. We have a main switch and a laser switch. Right now my laser switch is off. I'm going to show you how that chiller is plugged into this machine, and when I turn that on, see how that's off right now? It's going to turn that on automatically. That's a nice feature. So now my water chiller is coming on. If I had this off but the laser switch on and I try to run a job, the machine will tell me water error, the chiller is not on, and it will prevent me from damaging this tube. That is a nice feature because often we get in here and we're doing things and are busy and we screw things up and we forget, and then we cause damage to our machines. So just wanted to call that specifically out. Let's talk about the fan systems. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud in here. One of the things that I don't like about this machine is the way the fan system comes stock. Right now this machine is on and it's blowing air out of my room. I don't know if you can hear it, but just being on and idle, the fan exhaust system is running and my AC is getting sucked out of my 800 square feet room here. It continually runs. That's just the way the design is. You probably could get an additional system and convert it so that the stock system doesn't do that, but that's what it currently does. With the Thunder, the stock unit comes with an external fan that you plug in, and then it won't turn the fan on until your job actually runs. So you're not removing air from your room while it's just sitting here idle, like this machine is. For me, I have my air fan on the other side of the wall, and then I have my control here. So I just power up and off whenever I need to use it for the job, and it's convenient for me, and then I don't have to run my fan all the time, and it's not sucking air out of my room. So those are two systems that I really wanted to go over, which was the air assist and the exhaust. So two different designs on each of these machines. So let's look at a couple other features in our next section. One feature that I use quite a bit in my everyday usage is swapping out the different types of laser heads. And I'm gonna modify my video here to show you. In these gantry machines, you have different kinds of lenses. You can use a 1.5, which is high detailed lens for photography. Your normal job that comes stock with your machine is a 2-inch lens, which looks like, the cone looks like this. And then you also have a 4-inch lens for cutting thick things. And so one of the nice features about this Thunder machine is I can easily take this lens head out and put in a new one. And then I can start whatever job I was doing. So let's talk about an application for that. Let's say you're engraving. You want to engrave first, and then you want to cut something out in a very thick piece of wood, like a 1-inch piece of pine. So I'm going to do my engrave with my 2-inch lens. Now my job is done, my engrave job, but I don't want to move my laser around. So then I drop the bed, take that cone out. This cone has my 4-inch lens in it. Drop it in, add the airline, and then now I can run my cut job for the big thick material with a different lens size. That swapping of the lens is one of my most favorite features of this machine, because I do it quite a bit. And even so, just to clean the lens, you can take this out, easily swap it back in. This mechanism here, this tightening and swapping it in and out feature, is one of my favorite about this machine. Easy to clean, easy to change to different lenses, and it's a nice feature to have. If we were going to change to a 4-inch lens over here on this machine, we would need to go ahead and take this off, open up the housing, put in a 4-inch lens, and then put it back. So it's a little bit more time consuming. Still can absolutely be done, but it might just take a little bit longer. So I wanted to point that out. Another nice feature about the Thunder machine is that it has a fire detection system built in. So if you are running your job and either you're kind of looking away or not paying attention, or something happens and you start a fire, it will shut the machine down. It'll just shut off, and so that you don't have any more excessive damage. So I'll link more materials in the YouTube on that, and you can see some data on that and some examples. So that's kind of a nice feature to add. The next thing we're going to do is start doing some cutting and engraving.